Blessings this Sunday morn. Next Wednesday, Lent begins with ashes on our foreheads, and many will make a commitment to do, or not to do, so many things. One of the great things I love about Ash Wednesday is that it gives you more opportunities to proselytize than any other day of the year. As you wander about your office or delivery route or the mall, strangers and friends will approach you with the helpful advice that you have some dirt on your forehead, and that gives you the perfect opening to say something along the line of, "Right, I'm a Christian, and today is Ash Wednesday, when the minister marks our forehead with the sign of the cross. It's done to remind us that Christ has claimed us as his own. And when the minister marks our forehead with the cross of ashes, he says, 'Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return.'" Though sometimes that leads to a really interesting conversation. Of course, sometimes it leads to shakes of the head and the clear conviction that the other person thinks you're a bit batty. Either way, you get to proclaim your faith. Ashes represent the fragility of life, and it is this thought that we take into our Lenten observations. Ash Wednesday is the opening service on the most personal period of the year. It's when we look at what we have done and what we've failed to do, the love we've given and the love that we've withheld. It's a time for contemplation, setting time aside just to think and pray and look deep within oneself. We don't do much of that, and we do less and less as we seem preoccupied with ever being available to the internet and anyone who might call or post something to catch our interest. We have to make a conscious effort to give this time up for the good of our soul and our relationship with our God. Now, I admit I'm not good at contemplation. If I lie down and close my eyes, I find it so hard not to drift off to sleep, or my mind begins to wander in directions in no way related to my faith. Did I lock the door? Did I take the meat out of the freezer to defrost? Did I print out the announcements for Sunday? Well, that's the closest I get to religion when I contemplate. But there are other practices that may work. I like to copy out chapters from the Bible and think about the lessons learned and how they apply to my life and my relations with others and with God. I may do some research on what others have had to say about these verses and see how it ties into other chapters. I may talk about it with a friend. But somehow, handwriting the words adds a dimension that merely reading them doesn't. At least, that's how it works for me. The other major aspect of living differently during Lent is the tradition of giving things up, properly known as the Lenten Sacrifice. Traditionally, people fasted or gave up meat for Lent, fish not being included as meat, while today, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday tend to be the only days that one fasts. More commonly, people give up certain foods or habits or other things that they find pleasurable, going to the movies or skiing or dining out. Or it may be nasty habits that they find hard to break, like gossiping, desserts, and smoking, hoping that a promise made to God will prove more compelling than the ones they've made to themselves with their New Year's resolutions. The reason behind this practice of Lent is the 40 days that Christ spent fasting in the wilderness, tempted by the devil. They recognize his sacrifice, and these are mini emulations of his example, demonstrations of our penance in the days leading up to Holy Week. I admit I am always a bit suspicious of the motives behind giving up things like alcohol and smoking and desserts. Are you really doing this as penance or as a spur to a healthier lifestyle for at least 7 weeks? Not that that is a bad idea. It just may not be that the prime motivator is atonement. Personally, I like the idea of doing something extra, giving up your time for someone or something else. Something that you were not asked to do, something that will make someone else's life easier. It can be something simple or something complex. Doing the dishes, taking out the garbage for your neighbor, shoveling the snow before the plows show up. Or you can start a walk for a charity or encourage demonstrations for a righteous cause. The only limitation is your imagination. One of the great Lenten exercises is to do an inventory of your own talents and gifts. After all, although God has given you the gifts, they are yours to employ or to let lie fallow. Those are the decisions that are yours to make. The challenge is to dare and do, knowing you are working with the gifts God gave you, so employ them to their fullness and fulfill yourself. So, on with your inventory. Do you have a green thumb? Are you great with a camera? Can you sew up a storm? Is there anything you can't fix? Does everyone rave over your apple strudel? Well, what can you do with those gifts? Plant a garden for your neighborhood? Or deliver a plant that will blossom for a shut-in? Or a herb garden for a budding cook? Or teach a child how plants grow by gardening with them throughout the seasons? And those are just suggestions for the one with the green thumb. When you share a talent, you not only give to others, you also inspire them to try something new, and they grow with confidence in their abilities. One of my personal favorites when contemplating the good things done in the world is to write a letter to the organizer or the doer. Tell them how impressed you are. Encourage them in their cause. And if your worries about the world need action, write a reasoned letter of your concern and send it to someone who can do something about it, a politician, the editor of your local paper, or to others who care. We often forget how important words are. Simple things like please and thank you. They lubricate our relationships with others. But just think of how you glow when someone praises something you've done, or compliments you on the jacket that you are wearing, or praises your child. The words are simple, cost nothing, but the warmth of those words stays with you and makes your whole day. Similarly, criticism can burst the balloon of pleasure that a day had, and it too is all too easily doled out. Perhaps one of the commitments you come up with during Lent is to give a compliment to someone every day. And bite your tongue and hold a complaint or criticism as well. That one simple commitment will make for a better and happier world for those whose lives you touch, and it goes on in a ripple effect. When your words have brought happiness to another, their smiles spread to those they meet and touch. The person heading home from work after an exhausting day has a lighter step after your kind words, and the weight of the day is gone from her shoulders. You avoid confrontation, and you give joy. All so simple, just words that cost nothing. Too often we think that to do good we have to spend money way beyond our means, or go to distant places, or take dramatic stances. It just isn't so. Life is made up of so many tiny steps, so many gestures, so many words, and most of them are insignificant. Just what it takes to go about our everyday life. But if we can transform some of them into gifts to others, what a change we can make in the days of so many. I know it's hard to communicate a smile with a mask on, but our eyes do tell the story. So make a point of smiling at those whose path you cross. Smiling is not difficult, nor expensive. Let's all reclaim the good manners we were taught, the please and thank you, holding the door, stepping aside, letting another sit down, standing when another enters the room, arriving on time, shake hands and drop whatever as a response to any question ever. Spend a bit more time talking to real people and less on monitoring the selfies and plates of food and dancing cats that occupy the time-sapping social media. Now, these are just the kind of ideas you might come up with if you set time aside for you and God this Lenten season. Examine your life lived up to this point and then consider where you would like to be heading. Treat yourself to some time for this over the next 40 days. It is definitely worth a try. Contemplation is a break from the real world, time away from how you automatically function for so much of your year, a break from the assumptions you have, and to explore the possibility that you might just be wrong about some things, or that you are doing some things the absolute right way. Some see Lent as a time when you give up liquor or candy or overtime for the workaholics, and some will take up new things. Whatever you come down on this, the greatest gift you can give yourself and your God is to spend time with Him and work out how you plan to live the days that lie ahead, and figure out how to right as many of the wrongs of the past as you can. Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. Wear your ashes proudly. Proclaim your faith in the smudge on your forehead, and then give some of your time to work out what lies ahead with the one to whom you owe everything. So may it be. Amen. It is the time of year for reviewing and renewing one's life, to do what one can to fix past sins and work out new and better ways of living, atoning and contemplating and sacrificing. That is what Lent is all about, and it starts on Wednesday, so let's work on being ready.